I love that new intro. One of our friends, Tim, did that for us, and absolutely love that. Love the music. Great stuff. Welcome back, everybody, to the weekly Armchair. This is Devils Advocate on your Friday night. I hope you're all good. Got a great panel tonight. Lots to talk about from a United perspective. Of course, we're playing Everton this weekend, and our good friend Matt below me is an Everton fan, and obviously another team at the moment that isn't so full of joy at the minute, shall we say. But yeah, big game this weekend for both teams, obviously, and we will go into that a little bit more. Firstly, I want to touch upon Erik ten Hag. And Ron, I'll speak to you obviously first. That's pretty much all but done. How are you feeling about it, and where do you think this takes us?
Got to say, pretty excited about it all. Am I getting an echo, by the way?
Yeah, I think someone's got an echo. It might be you, Matt. I'm just going to mute you, buddy. All right.
Sorry, I think that's better. Yeah, no, it's an interesting appointment. I think it'll be very interesting to see the dynamics, how that will change once Ten Hag is in the door. If it's looking like it's going to be him that does indeed come through the door. Obviously, the I's and T's have not been dotted or crossed yet, so it's not an absolute slam dunk yet, but it pretty much effectively is so. I think, I've listened to quite a lot of people's reactions to this news. I think this is probably one of the biggest decisions and sort of shifts, you could say, that Manchester United have made since the post-Sir Alex Ferguson era. I agreed with what I think it was Tom Williams that mentioned that on the Totally Football show this week, and I think he was absolutely spot on. There's no doubt in my mind, Mark, that going from Ajax to the Premier League is quite a big step. You know, Ajax are a big club, but they're an Eredivisie club, and an Eredivisie league in comparison to the Premier League is like, you know, playing in a sort of amateur team in comparison to playing in the top leagues. It's very, very different circumstances to come into. Ten Hag will need time. He'll need to get his own group in and around him, not just in a dugout, but he also wants to get in my opinion, the right players that wants to play for him. Now, he will need time. I've heard a lot of commentators saying he'll need 2-3 years, 2 or 3 transfer windows, maybe more, to get it right. And I think it's crucial that Manchester United fans and supporters and contacts give Ten Hag time, like they gave Ole Gunnar Solskjaer time. But the fact of the matter is, you come into Manchester United to try and win trophies. You know, Manchester United haven't won a trophy since Jose Mourinho was in charge. And people will not like me saying that, but it is factually correct. Ole, for a large part of his time at the club, tried his best, but ultimately he came up short. It's not happened, obviously, this season. So far, it's been a bit of a disaster. Quite frankly, things do need to improve quickly. I think we need to get to the end of the season and start again. But he's got a lot of work and a lot of sorting out to do. And I wouldn't envy the task. So all I say to him is, if he does get the job, good luck.
Yeah, good luck indeed. And that's good points well made, mate. And I just want to say thank you for coming on tonight. Really appreciate that. Just going to come to the couple of the comments. Get liking, get subscribing. We do this every week. I know it's boring, broken record, but it's very important to us. So please do so. And just a couple of comments here. Dwayne, I'm going to assume your name is, apologies for getting it wrong. Cheers from Trinidad and Tobago. Great to have you with us, buddy. He welcomes Ten Hag to Man United. And obviously he just hopes that the board supports him 100%. And that is the big thing here. This is the big change that ultimately needs to happen. You know, we've had some very esteemed managers over the last 8 years, give or take, and they haven't been backed and it hasn't been run by footballing brains. So that needs to happen. It's a very good point indeed. Marcus, great to have you on, buddy. Really appreciate you taking some time out. I know you've got a busy day tomorrow, so good luck with that, first of all. But yeah, your thoughts on Erik ten Hag. I know we've had conversations about this a couple of times. There've been obviously a few names in the fray, but are you happy with this appointment as well?
Yeah, certainly I'm happy with Erik ten Hag, and I think for me, I've always been honest about Erik ten Hag. I'm not going to profess to know much about Ajax. I'm not going to profess to know much about European football in general. However, I do find an allure towards Erik ten Hag. He just seems like the shinier toy, like simply put. I think Pochettino is old news. And I think based on what he's done at PSG, I'm not convinced he would be the right fit for Manchester United. So he's the lesser of two evils. I saw someone tweet the other day that Manchester United have chosen their next victim. And I thought to myself, well, that's kind of funny. It's hard not to be cynical based on what we've been through over the last 10 years. So I hope and pray that Ten Hag is not going to be the next victim. I hope and pray that he does get the support that he needs. And when you say back the manager, I think a lot of us think give them 100% control. But if you look at some of the bigger clubs, that's actually not necessarily true. Yes, you have to trust the manager and give them a say in terms of transfers and stuff, but you don't say yes to 100% of everything. You do have to have someone above the manager who can say, okay, we're not doing that because it doesn't align with the long-term vision of the club. We have a responsibility to maintain a long-term vision so that if you leave, the next person can come in and take over from where you left off. So I am a little bit worried about that, and I think the only solution in the immediate term is just give Ralf the consultancy job. Give Ralf the job and give him the power he needs to work alongside Erik ten Hag and put together a successful rebuild. If Ralf doesn't get given the power that we were told he's going to get, then it's going to be another sort of false rebuild, and another kind of we're building for the future again, and just wait until next transfer window, and then the next transfer window never really comes. And so I hope that's really not the case. Apart from that, I'm happy with the appointment. I think we'll see an improvement in the football. And I think Erik ten Hag he's an exciting manager. I always thought he was a young and up and coming manager, but I researched his age and I realized he's actually quite old. He's actually been a manager for a long, long time. So I'm excited to see what he does.
How old?
I believe he's 53 or 52. No?
Is he?
Am I wrong about that?
He looks good.
Yeah. I was under the impression that he was in his late 30s or early 40s, and I thought to myself, wow, this guy's been a manager for a long, long time, a lot longer than people give him credit for. So we're not dealing with a... Yeah. I was shocked when I saw that the other day.
That surprised me. Looking good. Yeah. Looking good. He looks good. Yeah, well, hopefully he can bring exactly that, as you say. He needs to be supported. He's obviously been quite a new name on everybody's lips, but within the last 18 months, I think he's proven to have the ability to bring the right mentality, work ethic, and I hope that he's able to bring that to United, really instill that philosophy and is back, as you say. John here, Ten Hag is the right appointment, but needs backing. It will take time, and we will need patience. Good point on it. Speaking about patience, actually, and Marcus, you touched upon that, and you did as well, Grant. Vicky, the fans, it's very difficult from our perspective. Patience can run very thin at times, and we gave Ollie 3 years, and it started to wear very thin at the end. But the fans need to give this man time, don't they? It's not an overnight process. It's not an overnight fix. He needs to be able to give it time, get rid of players, get the players in, start to do this philosophy. But what do the fans need to do going forward other than to be patient? They really need to sort of change that stance. Do you not think?
Oh, you know what? I think when it comes to the fans, the ones that are loyal will always stick there. They'll always be there.
Yeah.
But then you've got social media is not really helpful when it comes to things, because you do have quite, I don't know, attention seeking like channels sometimes that can actually just make you feel a little bit impatient. And I don't really want to talk about that too much because I just feel like it's, but you have that. So then when you have fans that aren't patient, it's because they're sort of getting told not to be patient. That's the only down thing. But I pretty much, everyone who wants Ten Hag, I'm pretty sure is just going, oh, it'll be fine after 3 seasons. I reckon 2 or 3 seasons, because you need, like, as Rangnick was saying, like, you need 3 good transfer windows, don't you? So, if as long as there's some patience. But then saying that, Ten Hag, he went to go be, the under-21s a manager, but he ended up only doing a year because he done so well. So what was that? No, sorry, it's gone.
It's all right. It's all right. No, it's all right. It's been a long week. It is Friday night, 8:15, and I appreciate you coming on, Vicky. So thanks very much. Matt, I've got a question for you here. well, more of a statement. I want to know how you feel about this. You're going to get a bit ribbed tonight. Sorry, mate. You're going to get wound up. But Mark, I feel sorry for poor Matt as he will be following Championship football next season. Talk to me. Oh, you're on mute, buddy. Hang on.
Yeah.
Go on.
Well, thanks very much. Yeah, we might win a few games down in the Championship, so it might be a bit of a different feeling. You never know. Do you know what it is? It's just been one of those seasons. To be honest with you, it kind of started all in the summer when we were kind of told we had no money to spend. We brought in Andros Townsend, Damari Gray for a combined fee of 1.7 million. Got off to a decent enough start under Rafa Benitez, to be fair. I think if it wasn't for the start we'd already be relegated at this stage. But then going on a run of 2 wins in 18 games or whatever it is, and it's really been in my recent memory, it's really been the worst season of following my football club in a long time. I've seen Everton play poorly before, and I'm sure you guys have seen Manchester United play poorly before.
I think the last time they were relegated was 1953.
Yeah. So we've since then we've always been in the top tier of English football. So it's just, do you know what it is? I was talking to one of my mates actually today or yesterday about it. He's a big Liverpool fan, and he was saying that it'd be a disaster for the Premier League if Everton got relegated because there wouldn't be a Merseyside derby anymore. Everton have always been a stalwart in the Premier League, and they are a big club. I don't care what anybody says. Everton are one of the biggest clubs in England. They just don't want to seem to show it on the pitch. So, it's just an accumulation of, since the new money came in with Mashiri, of just 6 or 7 years of just spending money blindly and hoping something sticks, and it hasn't worked out. I mean, I think Alex Iwobi, we bought Alex Iwobi 2.5, 3 years ago, and he's on to his 6th manager. Do you know what I mean? So it's incredible, really, the mismanagement we've had in the club over the last 5 to 6 years. And I heard one of the guys on Toffee TV say yesterday that the worst thing that ever happened to Everton Football Club was that we got money because we lost our identity. I think probably 8 or 9, 10 years ago under David Moyes, before he went to Manchester United, we all had that kind of, you knew what you were going to get with Everton. We'd buy players for 2 or 3 million and we'd sell them on for 20, 25 million. They'd be rough in the tackle. There'd be 4 or 5 yellow cards every game. The Merseyside derbies were fiercely competitive and all that.
Yeah.
Now all the players just seem to be afraid of their own shadows, and I am worried. It's still in our own hands. I'm probably rambling on a little bit, but it is still in our own hands in terms of the relegation fight. And I'm just very, very worried that I don't think the current crop of players are up for the fight, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't disagree though. Obviously, I'm just going to mute you, buddy. Just remember that when I bring you back in next. But yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I have conversations with a number of people. I've got a particular Arsenal friend of mine. Whilst I dislike Arsenal, I respect them, and actually, I really enjoyed the fierce rivalry back in the day, and I feel that way about Everton as well. I think that they're 2 clubs that deserve to be at the top, and I know Arsenal are doing very well at the moment, but Everton as well. They don't deserve to be. They're not a club with the history that they have to fall away like they have done, and that's not the players' fault. That's not the manager's fault. That's the club. That's on their hands because they've been, since the money has come in, ran very, very poorly, and it is a shame to see. Listen, I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy, even Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? I think that there's a certain, respect that you have to have for particular teams, but when you see them being ran abysmally, a bit like United, people might take the mick. Liverpool fans must love it, but surely they can look at it objectively and think that's not right. Do you know what I mean? And have a little bit of feel sorry for them. And I'm not feeling sorry for Everton, not by any means. But they shouldn't be in that position, and it's really, really sad to see, to be honest with you. So hopefully, as you say, it's in their own hands. They can claw it back. Just quickly before I move on to everybody else, how are you feeling about the game this weekend? Because I think the only team in the Premier League at the minute that's worse off than United fans are probably Evertonians. So how do you feel about this weekend's prospect?
Do you know what? I was quietly confident about the game on Saturday, but that was Tuesday night before the Burnley game. And I was kind of saying to myself, if we got some form of result in the Burnley game, I'd be quietly confident. Going Everton playing Manchester United at Goodison Park, 12:30. Everton have had a good record in 12:30 kickoffs. I mean, we've gotten really good results against the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United over the recent years. I think I seen the last time Everton played Manchester United in April in the 12:30 kickoff, we won 4-0. So it's one of those, Mark, where if Everton turn up, I think they have a chance to beat Manchester United, because on their day, the players are good enough. It just depends whether they turn up. We have Alan and Michael Keane back from suspension. Obviously, probably Donny Van de Beek won't be able to play against his parent club.
No, I don't think he can.
Yeah, so we just had rotten luck, to be honest. I think Nathan Patterson, Grant probably knows Nathan Patterson as well. He rolled his ankle in training the day before his Premier League debut, and now he's out for the rest of the season. So again, we're left relying on a 34, 35-year-old Seamus Coleman come back in. But I do think Everton have enough if they're up for the fight on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, and the crowd are there, the crowd make it toxic and stuff like that. I think the crowd are going to have to be our 12th man on Saturday, and it's literally a flip of a coin. If the players turn up, we can get a result. If they don't turn up, then it's going to be a steamroll by Manchester United, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I think we feel exactly the same, to be honest with you. If we turn up, we got the players, but we don't seem to do it consistently enough. And I think whoever does turn up, obviously, I know that's normally the case, but I think it's such a double-edged sword, isn't it? You either play excellently, Everton and United, or they play terribly and don't get a result. And I think whoever turns up tomorrow morning will get that result. So listen, I just hope it's the red side of Manchester as opposed to the blue side of Merseyside tomorrow. But we will see. Grant, what are your thoughts about tomorrow? Do you have any reservations? Is there any particular players that you might want to see tomorrow and should be given a run out maybe?
Well, first of all, right now, no game is easy for Manchester United because we just simply aren't playing well enough. It is as simple as that. I mean, even what looks on paper to be an easier game, so to speak, because of positions in the table, for Manchester United this season has not been easy. And the only game I can absolutely define that right now is the Watford game recently, where we drew 0-0 at Old Trafford. We couldn't beat a side that are, in my opinion, comfortably one of the two worst teams in the league. Only Norwich, I think, worse than Watford this season, and the league standings show that. This is a game, and Matt's absolutely right. I think that the Goodison Park faithful get behind their team. They had that very good victory, late win against Newcastle. They had a very good win against Leeds, which, those are two massive results if you're going to try and get out of trouble. And they'll get a bit of a boost by those recent results at home. And this has got dodgy written all over it, in my opinion, for United. In terms of players, though, Mark, we've seen so many players that have been in this team for so long, and we're not learning anything new. I mean, we don't really know. We don't really know what we're going to do because there's too many. When I see the team sheet for the last few Manchester United games, we've seen him, and they've not been good enough. And the Leicester game was a perfect example of that. There was too many guys that were going through the motions a little bit. And Roy Keane says that all the time. There's too many players that are just going through the motions and have been for a considerable time. Now, is that Rangnick's fault? I don't think it is. I think this has been a collective for much of the season. Probably even towards the end of last season when we lost the Europa League final. But this is the sort of game where I really worry for United tomorrow. I think this could be a really tight, turgid game. There's a lot at stake. There'll be a lot of nerves, particularly from an Everton point of view, because they need to win the game to try and get out of trouble. But I do feel as well that this is a game that United, if they have any chance of trying to get some form of momentum to try and make a late push for the top four, they have to win games like this. You see in Chelsea, last couple of games, shipping 7 goals. They're on a little bit of a wobble. You saw Arsenal on Monday night. I mean, I watched on Monday night, Arsenal lose comfortably to a Crystal Palace team I thought were absolutely superb.
Yeah, superb.
Tottenham are finding a little bit of feet under Conte, but I'm still not overly sold that they're the finished article. So there is still chances for Manchester United if they want them. And that's that crucial phase, if they want it. And I don't think, personally, a lot of that United players do. So I have major concerns about the game tomorrow. That's just my probably negative feel about the game because of recent results. But I think it's 1 win in 6 for United? That's just simply not good enough.
No, absolutely spot on, as per usual, Grant. Marcus Key makes a comment here, actually, and this is what I was alluding to earlier. Medjugorje not playing with the under-23s tonight could mean that he's in the squad tomorrow, with McTominay out tomorrow as well. Isn't he suspended or injured?
Well, he ought to be. He should have been sent off last week against Leicester. He picked up a yellow, and then seconds later, Rangnick subbed him. So when your manager knows that his team got away with one the minute he subbed off the pitch. So makes a very good point. I think a lot of people. I know Marcus is particularly interested in this as well. I'll come on to him in a minute, but the Fred McTominay partnership just simply is turgid. It's boring. We've seen it too many times. It clearly doesn't work. We've seen it so many times. I like Scott McTominay, but I just don't think, it's happened for him the last few games. I think he's gone massively off the boil. And I'm laughing at Trevor's comment there.
You can give him that fiver later.
Yeah. I was gonna do my Mish Money Penny impression, but that's not very good. But yeah, no, just to finish up on that. No, I think we need to see some other players. There's too many players in the setup of United that I can't believe are still there. Why is Jesse Lingard still there, for example? Why was he not away in the January transfer window? The guy clearly doesn't want to be there. Edinson Cavani is still here. Why is he still around? He clearly doesn't want to play for us either. He's always injured. There's quite a lot of good young talent, and I think Hannibal was mentioned in some of the other comments coming through. This is the opportunity to give them a chance because, Manchester United right now, if we did get into the top four, say we did get into the top four, I'd be kind of embarrassed for the rest of the pack that have failed to get in there. Particularly someone like Arsenal, who have had control for the last few weeks, and absolutely horrible, by the way, against Crystal Palace.
You're absolutely right. If we get the top four,
that's just what I believe. It's basically looking like you've got a little bit of luck, you've stood in shit, and you've got a big break. That's the way I sort of see it. There's a term, I play lawn bowls, and there's a term in bowling where if you get a fluke and you hit an outside bowl and you get a shot, people say check your shoes, and that's basically what I think United will be doing if they get top four, because it would be pretty embarrassing if we did finish fourth.
I think you're absolutely right. I think if United do get top four, it wouldn't be on merit, would it? And we'd be very, very lucky. Marcus, who do you expect to sort of line up in the middle of the park tomorrow? We saw Pogba in more of an advanced role on the left last week. Lots of debate as to whether he would he fits that role. I personally quite like him there, but I think it depends on who we're trying to break down. If Everton sit back, he could be a good option further forward there. But who would you play in the middle of the park tomorrow? And also with Hannibal Medjugorje, would you maybe give him a shout too?
Yeah, I think for me personally, I would go with Matic and Fred, and then obviously either one of Bruno or Pogba. I personally prefer Bruno, but I mean, you could play Pogba there because I don't think he did a half bad job the last time he played in the 10 when Bruno was unavailable. No. So it's got to be one of the two for me. I don't think Pogba and Bruno work together, and I personally don't really like Pogba on the left that much, but that's just a personal opinion. In terms of Hannibal, I think it's interesting because I addressed this on a show, I think yesterday on a different channel. There's a lot of people who are saying, just play the youth because the senior players, they're not really doing the business right now. And I get it. I completely get it. I understand it. But for me, this is the worst possible time to bring young players in. You want to bring young players in when the club is stable so that they actually have an environment that's conducive to them learning and developing. You want to bring young players in where there's 4 or 5 senior players who they can look at and say, I want to be like that guy. That guy's showing me how to play the game. And I don't think right now that's the case. On top of that, we're fighting for top four. So I don't think it's fair to bring a youngster into these circumstances. If we were genuinely had given up on the season and there was nothing to genuinely play for, then yeah, I would say bring in the youngsters because it doesn't matter. But as much as we as fans have given up on top four, Ralf Rangnick and those players can't give up on top four. They've got to be professionals and play till the last game of the season. So I hope that we will see a strong lineup, whatever that is. And I hope that we wouldn't see someone like Hannibal Mabry starting in the midfield, because it would be, for me, a symbol of us giving up. That's just a personal opinion. But in terms of the rest of the team, obviously the front three would probably be Sancho. If Ronaldo's fit, you do start him. Another interesting point is, do you start Alanga on the right or do you start Marcus Rashford on the right? Again, for me, it goes back to that whole thing of bringing players in and developing them properly. I think Alanga's played too many games. I like Alanga. I think he's done a much better job than Rashford this season. But again, he's a young player. He's a young lad. Do you want him to start picking up the bad habits of this team, or do you want to protect him and bring him in a time where the team is a little bit more stable? I personally prefer the latter. So I hope we see a strong team tomorrow. And look, if Matic, Fred, and Bruno can't control the midfield against quite literally one of the worst Everton teams I've seen, then we don't deserve to win anyways, So it is what it is. And that's no disrespect to Everton. I'm sure Everton fans will admit, they are in the worst form. I don't know whether or not they've been in this position before, but since I've been alive and since I can remember watching football, I don't remember Everton being this bad. Like, I don't remember them being in a relegation battle. All my life, they've been a solid team that's been in the top half of the table, that's always been getting results against, some of the bigger teams, always been giving people a good game, so yeah, it's a weird one. But if we can't control the midfield with Matic and Fred tomorrow, I don't know.
Just to come in on Marcus's point, two things. One, I have seen Everton where they have been bad under Howard Kendall, but not as bad as this. I will say that. And I feel for Frank Lampard, because basically he's been handed this position and he is rudderless. He's in the canoe with no paddles. And I feel massively sorry for him. But on the second point, the two players I worry for from a Man United point of view tomorrow are young Anthony Gordon, who I think is a very exciting young talent. And I think if Everton do go down, they simply have to keep him at the club, because I think he's a massive player for them if they're going to build back up. And Matt mentioned Nathan Patterson as well on the right-hand side. If when he gets fit, and you see it for Scotland on the international stage, he's a phenomenal talent, and certainly was when he was in Scottish football for Rangers. But Richarlison, for me, on his day, can be a match winner for Everton. I mean, Dominic Calvert-Lewin has been well documented, has had a dreadful season. But Richarlison, I thought, was one of Everton's better players against Burnley on Wednesday night. He took his two penalties very, very well. Ice cool, particularly on the second one. Because when you take a second penalty, you've already taken one. Goalkeeper has kind of an idea really where you're probably going to go. So for him to take another one was very, very brave of him. But he's a big player for Everton, Richarlison. He's a very physical player. When he fancies it, he could be a real threat. But he's also one of these guys that if he isn't having a good game, he's a bit like Mitrovic at Fulham. He does get himself in sticky situations and can get himself sent off. So if United are going to get a result tomorrow, they need to frustrate Richarlison, and they certainly need to stop Anthony Gordon's enthusiasm, because he was excellent against Burnley, and that was one of certainly two of the positives that Everton could take from the game, albeit they kind of blew it because they were in control 2-1 up.
Yeah, two or three players there certainly to look out for tomorrow. I did see today that Richarlison's been linked with a move to Spurs. I don't know if that's got any legs. I can imagine, Matt, obviously I know at the moment you're more focused on staying up, and I don't mean that, critically, but obviously that's a kind of player you don't want to lose, really. I think he's a very, very good player, and you obviously want to keep hold of him. Vicky, have you put on your usual bet for Varane to score first or a header?
No, going into a header, but he's injured.
Oh, is he out tomorrow? I didn't even know that. I've been so behind on everything.
You know
I'm a terrible host tonight.
I got so much stick because I said he's not a sick note, and then I'm like, yeah, fine. But yeah,
go on.
But it will be an interesting game because you've got McTominay out, Cavani's out, obviously, but I don't want to go into that one. And Varane's out.
We won't touch upon that. Another sick note.
Yeah, well, he just doesn't want to play anymore. I literally would say just rip up his contract to stop paying him, but there we are. Yeah,
absolutely. Good point here by, I'm going to come to another point in a minute, but Harry Maguire from a header tomorrow, Vicky, instead, Keane says. And if Sorry, say that again.
That head is big enough.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. He also says here, if Everton go down, and again, I'm sorry, Matt, we're not giving you an easy ride here tonight at all, and I do apologise. But if Everton go down, we should go all out for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and you know what? Grant's shaking his head, and so's Marcus. So I'm gonna come on to those two in a minute. I saw this the other day, and I had a little bit of a discussion, and I actually think it would be a good, smart move. I think you'd pick him up for very little. I know he's had his injury problems this season. No, you're shaking your head as well. Marcus, I'll come to you first. Why the no?
I do think Calvert-Lewin is a good player. Let me just put that out there. But I just have my reservations about whether or not he fits what we need. And I feel like it just reeks of Glazonomics. Oh, he's free, he's available, or he's cheap. Let's just buy him. Why? Can't we actually go buy players who actually fit the system and that the manager wants? There's been no trace or no piece of evidence to suggest that Manchester United need that sort of a player, in my personal opinion. So I just, it's a no from me. I feel like on another day, maybe if we had our ducks in a row and we had a team that was already complete and we just needed somebody to come off the bench, give Ronaldo a bit of competition, give someone else a bit of competition. Yeah, maybe, but at the moment, I don't know, and I think he's at the bottom of the list of priorities, at least in that position. Like the striker for me is the least of our priorities. We should be looking at midfielders. We should be looking at building a solid first team and a solid spine first, and then looking
Absolutely
towards
agree.
doing shrewd business. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm absolutely in agreement with Marcus. I mean, what I will say about that suggestion that isn't daft is that Calvert-Lewin is the sort of age range of a player that we should be looking for if we want to get consistency moving forward. At 25, he's the sort of player that in that age range, United need to be kind of nurturing for 2-3 seasons. He's obviously a very good player a few years ago, and really up until this season, I thought was a very consistent player for Everton. But I think Marcus is right. I think defensively and in midfield, that's the key areas where Manchester United need to strengthen first and foremost, particularly in midfield, particularly at centre back. I know Varane is out tomorrow, which is a big loss, but Luke Shaw is out tomorrow, and I have been extremely critical of Luke Shaw this season. I don't rate Luke Shaw. I think Luke Shaw is massively overrated. I want Luke Shaw out of the club. I want him and Harry Maguire to go. That's my personal opinion. But, that's the sort of areas that United need to strengthen. I'd be going personally all out for someone like Angelino at Leipzig. That would be one of my first signings I'd be looking at is a fullback to replace Luke Shaw. Because I just don't, apparently it looks like he's signing a new contract. Why on earth are we doing that? There's too many areas that United are looking at trying to strengthen in areas which I think are alarmingly well shorted in terms of quality. And left and right back and particularly midfield is key areas in particular.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Very good answer from both of you. Thank you. And I just want to come to Matt first. Lastly, sorry about that. He was shaking his head as well. Is that because you wouldn't want to lose him, or do you not think it would be a good buy for United? There you go, mate. There you go.
Yeah. No, to be honest with you, I agree with what Marcus said there. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a very one-dimensional type of player, but he's very, very effective in that type of setup. Under Ancelotti basically told Dominic Calvert-Lewin to stay inside the 6-yard box when we're attacking, basically drag the centre half as deep as you can into the box. We'll get the ball into you and you just cause havoc in there. And that's how he scored 15 or 16 goals last season under Ancelotti. I agree with Grant, this season he's kind of stopped that. But so have Everton. Everton aren't supplying him with the balls that he needs into the box. Obviously Luca Dean leaving the club has been a massive issue there as well. He's been injured since
good
the
player.
end of August.
I like him.
So when you take someone like Luca Dean out of the squad, and you don't replace that attacking threat as well. Seamus Coleman isn't whipping balls into the box at pinpoint accuracy. The new guy Michaelenko as well. He's Ukrainian. He has other stuff going on as well. That's why he hasn't really been playing a lot lately as well. So, Dominic Calvert-Lewin has been forced to come drop deep as well. So, in terms of him going to United, if United were to go from, I think United wouldn't go from if Everton stayed in the league, because Everton would be looking for 60 million plus from him. I don't think United are going to do that.
120.
I don't think he's not. I'll tell you right now, I don't even think he's worth 60 million. But obviously, he has the English tax on it there. He has a couple of English internationals. If it wasn't for Harry Kane, he'd probably be starting for England. It's one of those things. So, he has had a pretty bad injury. He was out for 4 or 5 months this season, and I think his head has been slightly turned because there was a lot of interest in Dominic Calvert-Lewin from Arsenal, and apparently Everton are fuming with Dominic Calvert-Lewin and GQ magazine because he had a 6-page interview with GQ magazine, and they quoted in the interview that the Everton centre forward who was strongly linked with a move to Arsenal. So Everton aren't happy with that kind of carry on, and GQ magazine seem to be dropping a lot of their pictures about Dominic Calvert-Lewin about 4 hours after Everton get beaten. So it's not really going over well with Everton as well. But in terms of Dominic Calvert-Lewin as a player, I think you have to drop him into a team. I agree with what Marcus said. You have to drop him into a team that'll play to his needs. And I don't think right now Everton or Manchester United aren't playing to Dominic Calvert-Lewin's needs. And I don't think he's the right player for either team at the moment, to be honest with you. And tomorrow, I'd actually rather have our 3 quicker players, maybe Anthony Gordon on the left-hand side, maybe Demarai Gray on the right-hand side, and Richarlison through the middle, and then maybe bring Dominic Calvert-Lewin on with the last 20 minutes, half an hour maybe, and move Richarlison out to left or right, depending if you have to take off Gordon or Gray. But it's going to be an interesting game tomorrow, and I don't see Dominic Calvert-Lewin starting. I think Everton aren't actually happy with him, to be honest with you.
No, I can see that. I wasn't aware of obviously the backlash, and I know that he's been obviously in a few things recently, and seems to be in more magazines than actual matches at the minute. But there you go. Vicky, Ronaldo could make his return this week. Would you like to see him back up top, or would you prefer to see a different front three this week?
Wouldn't mind seeing a striker on a football pitch.
Yeah.
It's just who they're going to put him up with. Would it be Sancho, Rashford? There seems to be so much drama going on regarding the front right now. Obviously, we can't say, like, Ronaldo seems to be a bit unhappy, obviously, and then you've got everything that's going on with Rashford and Cavani. So when you want to talk about, do you want to see Ronaldo return? I said yeah, because it could do with some good morale anyway, because it doesn't matter every time that even though he hasn't had his best season at all, every time you do see Ronaldo, he does actually bring some sort of excitement to the pitch, to the fans, and it's probably what you need right now.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. And I saw you nodding away there, Marcus. Who would you play up as the top front three? I think there's obviously been a little bit of worry on Rashford at the minute. I think Sancho probably merits his place on the left or right-hand side. Ronaldo coming back in probably will start. But who would you have as that third man to play alongside them? Would you have those two as well?
Yeah, I think Ronaldo's got to start. I think that's a bit of a no-brainer because we don't really have any options up front. And I think we need leaders in that team. And I think Ronaldo brings that, even though some people don't really think he's a leader. There's different types of leaders. And I think he's the type of person who leads by example. He just gets on with it, really. Next to him, I'll play Jadon Sancho. Obviously, I think Sancho's been one of our better players this season. My issue with Pogba playing on the left in this team is that you've got to push Sancho out to the right. I think Sancho's been better on the left this season. So, even though Pogba hasn't really done much to warrant being dropped, he has to be the sacrificial lamb for me to accommodate Sancho. And then you play Elanga on the right, or maybe you bring Elanga off the bench. I don't know. I think Rangnick is damned if he does, he's damned if he doesn't, because I think Elanga, as much as I've praised him this season, there has been a little bit of a drop-off, which is normal with young players. They're going to be inconsistent. But the reason why I would prefer Elanga over Rashford is just because at the moment,
curve, isn't it? I mean, we're lucky to have had him come in and do as well as he has done. And of course, when that starts to drop off, that's going to happen sometimes. And that's all part of the learning curve as a young player.
Yeah, it is. And so you've just got to you got to roll with the punches, because playing Rashford in his current state doesn't really help much. I mean, Marcus Rashford, I could go on for hours. He was literally my favorite player before we signed Varane at the club, but I could go on for hours about how much he's dropped off the season. It's not even about technical ability or talent at this point. It's literally just about basic decision making. Look up, see what's going on, let Sancho have the ball, let someone else have the ball and run into space. Just keep it simple. Elanga does that. Elanga, yes, he may not be perfect. Yes, he still has a lot of room to grow. But one thing I like about him is he keeps it simple. Not 100% of the time, but more often than Rashford has done this season. So my front three would be Ronaldo, Sancho, and then Elanga on the right-hand side. I know some people would rather play Pogba on the left, Sancho on the right, and Ronaldo in the middle. I wouldn't be mad at that either. I think Rangnick is in a difficult situation at the moment. So whoever he plays up front, it is what it is. It is what it is. And Everton, as much as they are in the relegation zone, I hate to say it, but we have struggled against teams in the bottom three or in the bottom four this season. I mean, you think about Norwich, we won because of a penalty. Newcastle, I think we did beat Newcastle, but it wasn't a great performance. I don't think I heard any Manchester United fan.
We drew the Newcastle game. We drew it 1-1.
Oh, we drew. Yeah, we did draw. We did draw. And Newcastle fans, at least all the Newcastle fans that I know, were saying they should have won that game, and I agreed with them.
Yeah.
Burnley, we didn't play that well against them as well. The list goes on. And also, Everton, when Martial scored the opener last year, it was this season, but last year, Martial scored the opener and they came back, funnily enough. So Everton actually have forced us to drop points this season. So there's no reason why they can't do it again tomorrow, in my personal opinion. And as much as I hope we go out there and put in a good performance and put in a good reaction based on everything that's gone on this season, we know we can't really trust this current crop of players that much. So hopefully Ronaldo will give us the much needed boost we need to put in a decent performance against a team we should be beating.
Did we mention?
Go on, Vicky.
Did we mention Watford?
Yes. I was just about to say that because we only picked a 1 point out of 6 off Watford. And as I said, I think Watford are down there with Norwich as the two worst teams in the league. And I know Everton are in that mix near the bottom, but I genuinely think Watford and Norwich, with all due respect to those fans of their clubs, are genuinely very, very poor. Just very quickly, Mark, I'm on the same side as Marcus. I think that front three is probably what I'd like to see as well. I think we'll maybe see Fernandes maybe play more his sort of natural position in behind Ronaldo as a focal number 9. I think Matic will come in for McTominay tomorrow. I think we'll see Telles tomorrow because obviously Shaw is injured. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Wan-Bissaka tomorrow. Is Wan-Bissaka still in the team? I haven't quite seen him for a while. Because usually they play together, don't they? When it's always quite weird that. And I think Lindelof will play at central defence alongside Maguire. Kind of wondering whether it might be a bit of a wild card to throw in Juan Mata for this game, but I can't see it. But this is a game, as I said, that I have major concerns about. And I really hope that we can put a good performance. But I think the first goal is massive tomorrow because if Everton get the first goal, the fans will be that 12th man, as Matt was alluded to earlier on. And we've seen so many times when Goodison Park is rocking, a lot of teams crumble under the pressure. And Leeds early in the season, when they lost the first goal, Everton ran all over them and deservedly won that game 3-0. And this could be an awkward game for United tomorrow. And I remember, of course, a very famous game a few years ago whereby, we lost an early goal and we had to come back through that Fernandes goal, which was an error from Jordan Pickford. Really, it was a 1-1 game. But this is an awkward game for United tomorrow. United will have to play well. They did play well in the reverse game at Old Trafford. Remember, a VAR decision cost Everton winning that game, from Yerry Mina, who has been a massive miss at central defence for Everton this season. That was a game that I remember watching and thinking how bad we were in that game at Old Trafford, particularly in the second half. So we have to be on our game tomorrow. But as I said, it could be one of these turgid, tight, nervy games where one goal might be the difference.
Yeah, at Goodison tomorrow, and they are a huge voice a lot of times, and I think that can certainly help them tomorrow. Matt, I'm going to come to you first with score predictions. We're going to wrap up in a minute. Just want to say thank you to everybody in the comments. It's been great conversation tonight. Please like the video. Please get subscribing. Talk to your mates about it and get them to come over. But yeah, Matt, score predictions. He's gone. I'll come to Vicky first, and then I'll come to you, Matt. It's all right, buddy. Vicky, score predictions and first goal scorer, please.
I'm going to go, do you know what? I'm not even going to be optimistic. Because every time I'm really optimistic, we all know what's happened. It's been terrible. So I'm going to say it's going to be, I want to say 1-1, but let's just go for 1-0 for United.
1-0 to you. I'm loving the optimism here. And what about a goal scorer?
Goal scorer, I guess Ronaldo if he's playing.
Yeah, always a good one to go with. Matt, kids, eh? Hey? No, it's all good, buddy.
Who'd have
Yeah,
them,
your
man?
prediction.
Honest to God. Come back in again, look. Bobby, say hi to everybody on YouTube.
He's all right.
Yeah.
Cute man. Yeah, got a score prediction, mate, and first goal scorer for Everton or United, whoever you want.
Everton to win 5-0. Michael Keane, hat-trick. Seamus Coleman to get 2 assists.
Did I say be sensible?
Jordan
Be
Pickford to get a
realistic.
penalty. Jordan Pickford to score a penalty. I'm being realistic here. I've nothing else to go on, man. Honest to God. No, honestly, I think the longer the game stays 0-0, the better chance Everton have of nicking it. To be honest with you,
I agree.
I think if United get the first goal early, I think it's curtains for Everton. I don't think they have the backbone. Goodison will be rocking at the start. It's gonna be loud in the morning and stuff like that. So if Everton can get Everton do seem to start well under Lampard, the way he plays football and stuff like that. So I think if Everton come out of the blocks early and manage to get a goal against United early, I think we might be able to nick something. But if the first goal is going to be massive, if Everton keep it 0-0 for as long as possible, up to 60 minutes, and then nick that first goal, I think we have a chance. But it all depends on the first goal. And I'll go with... I'm just going to say don't lose tomorrow as an Everton fan, but I'll go with a 1-0 win. And I'll go with... To be funny, I'll go with Dele Alli to come off the bench and get the winner.
Yeah, it's a good one. That is. I'll tell you what. If you do win tomorrow, you're not coming back on Devils Advocate ever again next season. At least when we're playing next. But no, thank you, mate. I appreciate that. I just wanted to ask you one last thing. Actually, I was going to come to you earlier about this. Frank Lampard, just quickly. First of all, do you rate him? And secondly, do you think he's been given a very difficult task?
I think any manager that comes in is going to have a difficult task. At Everton, I think any manager that comes into Manchester United is going to have a difficult task. I think it's just the foundations at Everton over the last 6 or 7 or 8 years. There's so many different managers' DNA. There's so many different technical directors' DNA. There's different recruitment teams that have different players there. I mean, I think the only player who survived all these managers so far is Seamus Coleman. It is a difficult situation for Frank Lampard, and I don't envy him. There was talk that he was going to get sacked after the Burnley game, and I just think it's the wrong thing to do at this moment in time. If we're going to go down, we're going to go down. No manager is going to come in and solve this situation that we're in. And you know what? I was talking to a friend yesterday, looking at it, it could be the best thing to happen to Everton, because Everton are in a situation now at the moment where we have certain players on 100 plus 120 grand a week who just don't want to fight for the club. And if we do get relegated, we do go down, we'll get the parachute payments, we'll avoid any Premier League sanctions because we're not in the Premier League anymore, and we'll be able to rebuild. And maybe that's what Everton need, as hard as it is to say. But in terms of
Frank Lampard, sounds very familiar, doesn't it, United fans?
Yeah, but I think United need to, I'll just finish on what Frank Lampard. I think Frank Lampard is having a very difficult time at the moment. As Bobby... So I think Frank Lampard's having a very difficult time at the moment. I think he's going to continue to have a very difficult time. But we have 6 home games left out of the 9 I think we have left. Watford away, Crystal Palace at home, and Brentford at home are massive games for Everton. If we can pick up 7 or 9 points out of those 3 games, we'll be safe. But I just don't see where any points are coming from at the moment. So, yeah, that's my situation at the moment. So, I think
tough one. Oh, sorry, mate. Go on.
If Lampard can somehow keep us up, I'm positive about the future of Everton under Lampard, because I think he in the summer he will turn around to certain players and say, you have no future at this football club. And I think he will be backed in that regard, maybe not financially in terms of getting players in, but he will be backed in terms of you're not playing for this football club anymore. I think he's already done it with Andre Gomez, to be honest with you. So in terms of the future, if he can keep Everton up, I think he'll do very, very well next season if given a full pre-season, full summer, and maybe given a few funds in the transfer window as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Actually, I think it was very evident at Chelsea. He very much made it very clear to a lot of players who weren't going to be involved and what have you. So, I think you're right. I think that he's coming at a very difficult time of the season, a bit like Ralf, a bit of a scapegoat. Quite honestly, I don't know if I rate him that much as a manager, but he went straight from Derby to Chelsea, and that was always going to be a very difficult stepping stone. Hasn't really had the time to prove himself. But I think you're right. I think a bit like Rangnick, if he was given a window and a full season and pre-season, could be in a very different position right now with the players that we've got, certainly. And I think you're absolutely right. Just going to come to Grant and Marcus with their score predictions and first goal scorers, please. Marcus, you first, buddy.
Yeah, this is a tough one because I tell you what, tomorrow's game is a fascinating one. I mean, you've got two teams that are probably in the worst form they've been in over the last 9 years. You've got two teams that don't have an identity, two teams that are in turmoil and crisis. And we're all sat here not really know, well, at least I'm not really sure what to say because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to be honest with you. I do not know what's going to happen. It would be typical of Manchester United to lose this game. But I'm sure Everton fans would say it would be typical for them to lose this game as well. So it's a weird one. It's a weird one. I'm going to go with the Cristiano Ronaldo goal. But I think Richarlison is also going to get a goal because I think Richarlison and his pace is going to be a nightmare for Victor Lindelof and Harry Maguire. And I feel like a mistake is inevitable. And I think it's going to end in a draw, a boring 1-1 draw with a late equalizer from Everton because Manchester United don't know how to keep their composure. Will probably be a corner as well, but who knows? Could be a counter-attack, if it's based on pace anyways. So that's what I'm going to go with. I really hope we win. I really want to predict a 4-0 win, but I've been disappointed too many times this season. So I'm going to be conservative and go with the draw.
I think you're absolutely spot on, and you've taken my scoreline, so I will go different. But I think you're absolutely spot on. I think Everton are very much looking for the points, as are we. Probably not so much, if I'm honest. I think it's going to be a tough game tomorrow. But Grant, your prediction and goal scorer, please, buddy.
First goal tomorrow is massive. I think if Everton get it, I think they could win the game. I'll be brutally honest. I think if they can score the first goal, I think Goodison will be rocking, and I think United will crumble under the pressure. If United get it, then I agree with Matt. I think it'll be one of these games where we saw in the Burnley game that when Everton concede, they don't have a plan B, and they did the hard work against Burnley after going 2-1 up, and then in the second half they just didn't turn up. I am going to be a wee bit more positive than the majority of people, ironically, which I think is quite interesting. I think United will win it 2-1. I think it'll be a game that will be punch and counter punch relatively early on.
I'm gonna have to change my score again now.
I think Cristiano Ronaldo is going to score.
You can go for an Everton win, Mark, if you want. You can go for an Everton win, like.
I'm not sure I can do that, but yeah.
I'm going to go Anthony Gordon to score for Everton because I really rate Anthony Gordon. I think he's a tremendous young talent, and I fancy him to score tomorrow. But I also think that Ronaldo will score. And here's my biggest, boldest tip of the lot. I'll go for a Maguire winner.
Cool. I mean, that would be something, wouldn't it? You know what? I'm going to change ever so slightly. It was going to be 1-0. It was going to be 2-1. All very predictable scores. But I'm going to go with 2-2 then. I think Richarlison will probably score 2. I genuinely don't feel too confident. I think Everton are going to want it more. And I think because of that, they'll probably get an early goal and we'll struggle to get back in it, or we might even concede one late on. So I think it's going to be maybe a 2-2 draw instead. At least a draw, but yeah, we'll say 2-2 just to be different. Just wanted to do a few plugs actually. Have you got any WrestleMania stuff this weekend, Vicky, or is that not for a little while? No, we're not. But on Monday, Matt, you're back on Talk of the League. So what time is that? 7:30? You talk, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get this mic thing sorted out. So Talk of the League every Monday. It's usually about 7 o'clock. Can change to 7:30 depending on certain things. But yeah, 7 o'clock talking all things. I'm sure we're gonna digest the Manchester United and Everton game as well on Monday, seeing as though the people on the channel are predominantly Manchester United, and then there's me being an Everton fan. So I'd either be very buoyant on Monday evening with Jamie, or I'll not want to do the podcast whatsoever. So yeah, you can find me on this channel on Monday evenings on the Talk of the League podcast. So yeah.
That will be really great and could be incredibly fiery. So certainly one to watch. I just want to say as well on tomorrow on the reaction show we've got over on Talk of the Devils. So please come over to there and have a look. It will be really good fun. We got Wayne Barton on and a couple of familiar faces as well. So please do tune into that. And I also just wanted to put a shout out to Keane. He's had a bit of a tough week this week, and my best wishes go out to you this week, buddy. And we love you. So I hope you're on the mend. But listen, it's great having everybody in the chat as well tonight. Thanks, guys, for coming on. Really appreciate your time, and you as well, Matt. I look forward to some of the conversations perhaps tomorrow. And we'll see where we go. But listen, thanks very much. And we'll see.
I'll turn my phone off from 12 o'clock to about 5 o'clock tomorrow. I don't want anybody talking. No, man. No.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But listen, thanks very much. And we'll see you next time.